Hello friends, welcome to the channel, and for today's video we have patch details for the mid-month update including Nova, Richard Rider and Phyla-Vell, straight off from the Cosmic Invasion game which is collaborating with Marvel Future Fight for this mid-month. Now without wasting any more time, let's read through the patch details and find out if these characters are gonna be worth it or not. But before that, I'd like to make one very small announcement. I'm gonna make a video reviewing some different accounts of different players, so if you want to be included in that, please comment down your IGN so I can give you some personalized suggestion which can be useful for the community. So please do that if you can. Now let's move on to the patch details. Now in this update, the first character that we are getting updates for is Nova Richard Rider. I don't have a Nova Richard Rider, unfortunately. I haven't bought his epic quest. He is an epic quest character. If you don't know, you need to pay 5,500 crystals in the epic quest in order to get him, and you will get 1,500 crystals in refund. So technically you are paying just 4,000 crystals in order to get this character and the gladiator. So if you are planning to buy the epic quest for Nova Richard Rider, I would suggest you to wait until tomorrow or the day after tomorrow so the pro players and the content creator can test it out and tell you if this uniform is worth it or not, and then you can buy the epic quest after that. Or even better than that, anniversary is coming in just 3 months, and during that time you are gonna have the crystal spending event, and if you buy the epic quest at that time, you have more chances to get more rewards from the crystal spending event. So I would suggest you to do that. I will be doing the same if the characters turns out to be good. Now let's talk about the characters. Nova Richard Rider is a universal superhero and his uniform will cost 1,050 crystals since he is a native tier 1 character from epic quest like Sue Storm. So that's the cost, and for the ability he has energy projection and leadership, and he belongs to the human male with the justice instinct side. Now if you were confused thinking he was an alien character, he is not, he is a human character. Now since this is his first uniform, he will be getting his first uniform effect, which is decrease basic damage received by 20%, which is honestly pretty bad in 2026. It should have been like 30 or 35%, but it can work out. Maybe he was too OP, that's why they have reduced it to 20%, but we'll see about that. And talking about his skill, the first we have is tier 2 passive, which gives him 20% guaranteed dodge rate. Now he gets increase of skill damage and increase bonus damage by 35%. It was 25 and 25% previously, so 10% buff, pretty nice. And for the 4-star passive, which is his support, he applies support to superhero allies, which gives ignore targets dodge rate by 40% and basic damage dealt to supervillain faction by 50%. It was previously 25 and 40. This support skill kinda looks like the counterpart of Hela's uniform effect. Hela's uniform effect deals damage to the superheroes faction. Now this deals damage to the supervillain faction. Now if Nova is gonna be good, you can pair him with someone like Sentry and Wolverine, and you can attack some really good villain characters in the PvP side. For example, Kang, if you are struggling to find a good support for your superheroes character, especially in the team battle arena, since Nova is gonna be a very cheap character in there, it can work pretty flawlessly if he's gonna be good. Now this is about the support skill. The leadership skill is not listed in here, so that means leadership is gonna be unchanged. So it's gonna provide 30% energy attack, which is not realistically that useful, but you can sometimes use his own leadership in order to apply some other support if he's gonna be good by himself. So that's about the leadership. And his first skill, which is called Nova Strike, has a V-pad on the first skill, and it deals energy damage, 60% of the energy attack, and it doesn't have the barrier it had before in the first skill. Now into the second skill, which is called Centurion Prime Punch. It applies incapacitation and paralysis to the enemies and gives barrier 10 times for 5 seconds. This is pretty good. The barrier from the first skill is moved to the second skill, and the decreased basic damage received is removed from the second skill, and his energy damage is also bumped from 49 to 95%. Now for the third skill, there are a lot of the things to talk about. He keeps the ignore iframe skill from the base skill set of the character, and then he applies 40% chance of missing attacks to enemies. His third skill previously already have the ignore targeting, and now he is also gonna get 40% chance of missing attack, which is kind of a mini ignore targeting effect. I don't know if they are gonna remove the ignore targeting from his third skill, but I don't see that being the case. So this could be really nice from the defensive point of view. And he also gains incapacitation, paralysis, and decrease all basic defenses by 4.5%, which can be stacked up to 50%, which was previously into his second skill, and it is now into his third skill. And he also has 85% chance to penetrate with super armor, barrier, shield, all damage immune, and effect for 5 seconds, and again for 5 seconds. And also he had super armor, increase all basic defense by 100%, which was previously there. Now the good thing about this skill is they have added this 40% chance of missing attacks and decrease all basic defenses of the enemy by 4.5%, which was previously into the second skill. Now it's into the third skill, so it becomes a very tanky and a hard-hitting skill with penetration, super armor, and ignore iframe, decrease basic defenses. So this third skill becomes very hard-hitting. A better skill could have been if they have added the recovery in here too, but it is not here. But still, this skill looks pretty promising if he's tanky enough. Otherwise, it is all gonna go to waste. Moving on to the fourth skill, he applies snare to the enemies and to the self. He increases all basic attacks by 35% and basic defenses and all speeds by 1 and 1% for 7 seconds, which was previously in there, but the all basic attacks is bumped by 10%, and his energy damage is also bumped by 4%. And moving on to the fifth skill, he applies stun and decreases all basic defenses by 5%, which can stack up to 60% to the enemies, and that's pretty good. And it recovers 30% of his HP and increases all basic attacks and defense by 30% and all speed by 6%, critical rate by 30%, and removes incapacitations and 100% chance to grant all damage immunity. So the other things are pretty much same, but previously he had just 5.5% HP recovery. Now he has 30% HP recovery, and this is pretty good. And here is no mention of his awakened skill, and that makes me believe that his awakened skill is gonna be unchained, which also has the penetration and all of the other effect, which is pretty good. And overall, looking into the kit of the character, he looks pretty promising for his cost. Not the epic quest cost, I'm saying the character cost. He's native tier 1, so he's getting the ignore iframe and penetration and all the buffs in his third skill, but we have to wait and see. He's gonna work pretty good if he is tanky enough, or you can make him tanky enough, because he has quite nice attack potential in his third skill. So this is gonna be his bread and butter. And fifth skill is also pretty nice because of the recovery and all damage immunity. So that's pretty good, and you can use him as the support only, since this is a pretty good support. But realistically, you are not gonna buy a whole epic quest for support, but we'll see what is gonna happen with the character. Now the other one we have is Phyla-Vell. She is also a universal superhero, costing 1050 crystals for the uniform, and she also has the energy projection and the leadership. Unlike Richard Rider, she is alien, female, and she has order for instinct. And now her uniform effect will give her ignore targets dodge rate by 35% and decrease basic damage received by 30%. Kinda offense defense uniform effect. This is a little bit better because of the ignore targets dodge rate than the Nova's uniform effect. Now her tier 2 passive is gonna apply to universal allies, which will increase all basic attacks by 30% and increase all basic damage dealt to boss types by 45%. Now this is purely a PvE support by the looks of it, and this is a very nice buff for the EVXL and the world boss. It was previously same for this all basic attack buff, but this basic damage dealt to boss type by 45% is completely new. Previously it was skill damage increased by 25% and bonus damage increased by 15%. Now her first active skill is gonna deal 120% of energy damage to the enemies of her energy attack, and her active second skill has bleed and deals 70% of energy damage of the energy attack. And her third skill applies burn and bleed to the enemies, and she increases her basic attacks by 35% and deals energy damage 30% of her energy attack. Now her fourth skills applies bleed and decrease all basic defenses by 10%, which can be stacked up to 50% to the enemies. And to herself, she has 100% chance to grant all damage immunity. She accumulates 10% of pure damage while attacking and increases 1% of all basic attacks for each 1% of pure damage accumulation. So she has all damage immunity accumulation in her fourth skill, and that's pretty nice. And for her fifth skill, it is gonna apply bleed and paralysis to the enemy and recovers 25% of her HP and gets effect for 5 seconds and increases all basic attack and defense by 50% and all speed by 5% and critical rate by 45%, and removes incapacitation, which will apply to her for 7 seconds, and she deals energy damage 80% of the energy attack. And similar to Nova, her awaken skill is gonna remain same as before, which will deal burn and stun to the enemies. And for herself, she applies pretty same buff as the Nova, which is critical rate, critical damage of 35%, and ignores target dodge rate by 70% and 70% chance to penetrate, and all this effect that she's gonna get. So overall, by looking at her skills, at best she is gonna be a very good support for boss battles and can be quite good damage dealer into the lower level PvE battles. For PvP, she has few skills such as decrease damage received in the uniform effects and 100% chance to grant all damage immunity, but these are not enough to sustain her in the PvP since she don't have any of the ignore iframe penetration other than her awakened skill. So this is not gonna be her place to play in the PvP. Now her leadership is also not mentioned here. That means leadership is also not changed, and her leadership will apply 50% increase of energy defense. She is gonna be pretty good as a support, so you can wait to buy her uniform till the anniversary if you want to save some crystals. Now with this, both of these characters are gonna get tier 4. So now for the first character, Nova, his tier 4 skill is gonna give him the increased basic damage dealt to targets with higher max HP than the character himself by 70% and decreases a basic damage taken from the targets with a lower max HP than the characters by 75%. Now honestly, this is a very lame tier 4 skill, very boring. It is not that bad, not that good. It is average tier 4 skill. And for Phyla-Vell, she increases chain hit damage by 50% while attacking, and it depends on how quickly she charges her tier 4 skill. She could be very good for PvE. Now after reading this tier 4, chain hit damage increase is pretty nice effect. This is also pretty boring and flat, but still it's I would say better than Richard Rider's. if it can charge up pretty quick. Now we have some other improvements and changes. If you are having any of the issues that are listed in here, congratulations, and this is the patch note. So overall, both characters tier 4 skills are pretty boring. Phyla-Vell can be a pretty good support. She looks really cute. Other than that, I don't see much of the interesting effects and skill in her kit, but she can be really good support, as I told you so many times. And for Nova, he can be pretty good for his cost. I don't see him breaking the meta or anything, but he can still be pretty good overall, I guess. He is primarily support, so if you can pair him with some good damage dealer or metas, now you can with someone like Sentry for the buff, and his third skill might do something by himself, so that is also pretty nice. Overall, this looks nice, not that great, not bad at all. So yeah, this was my overall thinking over this patch note. I'll be looking forward for the pro players to test the characters, and let's see what these characters can do and what not. And this is it for the video, and as I have already mentioned in the start of the video, please don't forget to mention your IGNs into the comment section for the ID reviews. And thank you for watching this video, and have a great time.